British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello, this is Shaigon Jafar Beglu with your 12 p.m. news update. Mayor of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality thanks many communities who have provided help, such as fire trucks and personnel, to help fight the wildfires.
So I really got to thank all of those communities who have offered up assistance by putting a fire truck in our community, and personnel. You know, fire trucks are expensive and personnel are hard to come by, and so when they release somebody to come and help a community fight a fire, it's really a big deal.
A Quebec Superior Court judge has denied McGill University's request for an injunction to remove the pro-Palestinian encampment on the campus. The university issued the request on the grounds that the protests pose a health and safety risk. The school also was denied its request to have Montreal police assist in the removal of the encampment. The encampment will remain on McGill campus for now. Tenants in downtown east side of Vancouver feel exploited by their landlords. The landlords often increase rent without consideration for the tenants. Our reporter Vivek Nakra talks about the single-room occupancies that are common on the east side.
The provincial government is supporting a bylaw that protects low-income SRO tenants. People find these as the last accommodations before getting homeless. Different people are coming to these single-room occupancies to get shelter. SRO property manager Sam Hoare talks about how he does the screening process when he looks at the tenants.
Like sometimes if I meet someone and I have a good picture of them, I can just kind of get a good vibe off them, I'll give them a chance immediately. It does happen in rare cases. Most of these people are either homeless or living in other SROs. So it's, it could take about a week or two, even. I need to know their criminal history.
He says that it is important to know the drug history of the tenants because people with certain drug abuse situations act differently. Vivek Nakra, BCIT's The Crow.
The Prime Minister of Slovakia was shot today. The President of Slovakia says this shooting is an attack on the country and democracy. Charles de Ledesma has more.
President Zuzana Kaputova, a political rival of PM Robert Fico, said in a televised statement, a physical attack on the Prime Minister is first of all an attack on a person, but it's also an attack on democracy. Any violence is unacceptable. The hateful rhetoric we've been witnessing in society leads to hateful actions, she says. Please, let's stop it. Kaputova says the shooter was arrested but gave no details about him. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Moving on to the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he's ready to negotiate for an end in fighting in Ukraine. Charles Ledesma of the Associated Press has more on the details of the negotiations.
In an interview with Chinese media, Russian President Vladimir Putin, on the eve of a visit to Beijing, says his regime is prepared to negotiate over the conflict in Ukraine. The official Xinhua news agency quotes Putin saying, "We're open to a dialogue, but such negotiations must take into account the interests of all countries involved in the conflict, including ours." Putin adds, Moscow is seeking a comprehensive, sustainable and just settlement of this conflict through peaceful means. His trip comes as Russian forces have pressed their offensive in northeast Ukraine's Kharkiv region. China claims to take a neutral position in the conflict, but has backed Moscow in real terms. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Total number of overdoses in the United States have decreased. However, just last year, over 100,000 Americans died of a drug overdose. Brian Clark has more on the statistics.
Deaths from drug overdose fell last year in the U.S. for the first time in 5 years. Provisional numbers from the CDC showed 107,543 Americans lost their lives a year ago. a 3% decrease from more than 111,000 in 2022. The CDC chief medical officer called deaths from drug overdose fell last year.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.